Innovative content. Global audience.
Hello, good morning to you viewers. A very warm welcome to you from the world's capital city, London. My name is Princess Kessy, and this is Wake Up Nigeria. Yes, we have quite a lot coming in from our national dailies in Nigeria this morning. So much, if you ask me. I was actually thinking the University of Chicago certifying that a president did actually graduated from there will kind of die this issue once and for all. But we've seen that there is still back and forth where as regarding to that issue, and we have quite a lot as well. On the national dailies today. APC and Peter Obi at war over Tinubu. Now, these are some of the stories we'll be discussing this morning. Once again, a very beautiful Thursday morning to you. And of course, I have with me this morning to review the papers, no other a young, able-bodied Nigeria. He is Ugochukwu Wantike. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Can you hear us?
I can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Oh, yes, sir. How are you today? How are you, sir?
Thank you. Very, very well.
Yes, sir. You are highly welcome to our program today. And we have quite a lot coming in. But first, how is Nigeria this morning?
Nigeria. Only the strongest we have to, that's good.
Okay, Ugo, your network is quite bad. So I don't know if you can actually put your phone on 4G so we can get to hear you very well. It's really bad from our end here. Yes. So what's going on? What's going on in Nigeria?
Yeah, well, the economy, the policy is still where it is. We are hoping for a positive change. And
how much is fuel as of yesterday? How much was the fuel sold for?
I haven't bought, but it's about 65 thereabouts, 65 naira. 600 and
Okay, Ugo, this is what we would do, right? You need to connect to another stronger network. We cannot hear you at all, and your pictures are hanging frozen. So we need you to get a stronger network if need be. Log in with another phone or use a stronger network or change to 4G so we can get to hear you very well. Okay, viewers, yes, you're welcome to Wake Up Nigeria. I'm going to kickstart this morning with the Blueprint newspaper. We have quite a lot of stories coming in from the Blueprint this morning. These are some of the stories we have. And the Nigerian, the Blueprint newspaper says that Tinubu's Chicago certificates not forged. Now, this is coming from BBC reports. And the writer says, we are not satisfied. Obi Atiku. President needs no reintroduction. Now, this is coming from APC. Igbo Group tells VP, LP, ex-VP, and of course, LP candidate. All the stories are on page 16 and 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says EFCC on trial of diverted fund for Mambila Zungeru power projects. And that story is on page 7 of the Blueprint newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says U.S. investors eye Nigerian capital market, urge regulatory reforms. And that story is on page 21 of the Blueprint newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Nigerian startups face funding challenge amid global inflation orders. And that story is on page 23 of the Blueprint newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says CDS to be complete soldiers, you must kill Boko Haram terrorists. And now this is coming from CDS. And that story is on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says NAF receives 2 diamond, 62 aircraft in Ilorin, and that story is on page 6 as well of the Blueprint newspaper. We have a story here as well that says concrete roads. Umaya issues 14 days order to contractors vast to punish defaulters. And that story is on page 21 of the Blueprint newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says, I will return trust to government communication. This is coming from Malagi, and that story is on page 5 of the Blueprint newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says a minimum Hajj fee for 2024 is 4.5 million naira. This is coming from NACO. NACO declares, and that story is on page 5 of the Blueprint newspaper. Now, these are all the stories we have coming from the Blueprint newspaper this morning. Ugo, let's
Yes.
first of all go to the main headline. This is an issue, a story we've seen over and over before, but we don't know what's going on with our dear president and the candidates of PDP and LP. The story here says Tinubu's Chicago certificates not forged. Now, this is coming from BBC, but we're seeing here the writer Atiku and Obi saying they are not satisfied. And of course, APC countered that by saying the president needs no reintroduction. Now, what's your take on this back and forth on the certificate saga?
Yes. I want to hand, of course, for the writing, the
Ugo.
adverse effect of what,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
We can't hear you
the
very
Nigerians
well.
in want.
Hello, Ugo. Okay, Ugo, your network is not good at all. You need to change to another stronger network. You need to change to another stronger network, right? So we can get to hear you very well. But well, in my own candid opinion, I was thinking at this point, I don't know why we are still going back and forth with certificate saga. Did he win the election? That is the question. And if it's proven by the court that he actually won the election, why are we fighting? And of course, for instance, if you go to the court and say election was not well conducted, and you are coming back to tell us another story of a certificate saga. So where are we to stay? Where are we to stand? Which one are we holding? So I'm thinking sincerely we should hold one thing to a standstill. What are we supposed to do? The university did release, even the court had to order the release of that document, meaning because of course the university, the credibility also was at stake, and they had to at that point release all documents to article. And at this point you're saying you are not satisfied, so what are we supposed to do? I'm really of the opinion that at this point these people, aggrieved party, should look for something else to hold on to, or what they have been holding on to before. We can't keep going back and forth. Nigeria is actually being plunged into serious
The network
economic
is
crisis.
bad.
And do we need all this? If you ask me, no. Ugo, what's your sincere opinion on this? Okay, it's obvious we cannot have Ugo this morning. His network is bad. Ugo, you need to, Chief, you can hear me, please. Use another device or change your network. That is the only way we can communicate very well this morning, right? And of course, there's a story here as well that says to be complete soldiers, you must kill Boko Harams. Okay, I think I don't know what's going
Eh,
on, but with our CDS. But okay, if this is the tax for our soldiers, but are they well equipped? That is the question. So you can't say to be complete soldiers they must go and kill Boko Haram. Do you have the right equipment for them? Are you feeding them very well? Do you have the right strategy? Not just pushing them to Zambisa forest that okay, go and kill Boko Haram, and before you know they are killed. Because I don't understand our country, Nigeria. Ugo, can you hear me now?
okay, if I get your question correctly, if our soldiers are well equipped to go after Boko Haram, is that
Because the
correct?
C, because the CDS did say for you to be a complete soldier, you must kill Boko Haram terrorists. So that is like the deal. You cannot call yourself a soldier until you have killed a Boko Haram terrorist. So my question is, do you think
Yes.
these people have the sophisticated weapon to go and fight the terrorists?
Question from you, because you are charging people to down a group of well armed terrorists or bandits, as the case may be, but you do not equip these people. Your soldiers are going out there to be massacred because you are asking to bring down Boko Haram with what? You're sending a farmer to working implement. That is more like saying go to the farm and work with your bare hands, toil the soil with your bare hands, and you know what happens when when you do that kind of thing. But from the angle of looking just on the sophisticated weapons to face Boko Haram, these guys might go out there and might not come back. Some would go and fight and they lay their life. Check what will be given back to their families, the stipends, the emolument, the financial stance of the soldiers. These are what gives these soldiers drive, morale. This increase their out there charge you to do this, and he will do that because he knows that at the end of the day he's well taken care of. But in this case, it's appalling. You know, back in the day when we were growing up, you hardly see a soldier man on the street. It's like seeing a war fighter. You want to go after him and say hi. But these days, you turn left, the soldier man, they turn right. Regalia of pride for our soldiers is trickling down the drain. So I'm saying the Nigerian system should equip the soldiers properly before sending them out there to fight people who are.
Yes, I think that would be the debate today. You can't tell soldiers that for you to be a complete soldiers, go and fight. Whereas they don't have the right sophisticated. I use that word because we know
Yes,
that bandits are not joking with anyone. So you don't come and
not at all.
mortgage their lives or that of their families just because you want to earn a title soldier. I don't think it's done like that in the developed country. You have to
Well,
provide everything they need. And the other time we had, army saying, the military saying they are going to probe the report that the military at war zone are not being fed very well. We are still talking about feeding. These people are not being fed very well. They don't have good water to drink. They don't have good food to eat. And then
welfare.
you plunge them into a war front without a sophisticated weapon. Nigeria government, please, we are begging. These people actually they have family members, they have wives, they have children to cater for. So if you must say, okay, for you to earn a title of an army, you have to go and kill Boko Haram. Make sure that they are well equipped. That is what we are saying. And of course, Ugo,
Exactly.
the main headline here, I really want you to throw your weight on that. What do we do?
Okay.
Because there's this back and forth with the all aggrieved party as regarding to a certificate that the university did certify that indeed it's a correct certificate.
Well, it still boils to the effect on ordinary Nigerians who are out there in the diaspora trying to make ends meet. I heard the other day, I can't confirm that story, that in UK, some Nigerians were asked to rewrite or retake their exams, and they'll have to come back to Nigeria to do some background checks before proceeding with their jobs. So you can then imagine people who are working hard or who have worked hard to attain a certificate that would help them put food on the table for they and their families, has now been, shortchanged. It's a problem because the issue has to be addressed properly. It's like saying the head of a family is a criminal. What would that transcend down to their children? Criminals. So it's appalling. It's eye-tearing that Nigerians are now looked at fraudsters, criminals cut across the world. It's painful because how do Chicago State University clear him of his certificate, and then BBC is saying that the certificate is good. My own take on this is that the effect on Nigerians, you can't go if you outside Nigeria. The image of Nigeria is devastating. You walk into the airport with your green passport, you are treated as a third-class world citizen. So I think the people in charge, Chicago State University, CS, you should come out and clarify this, because the other day I was hearing on the sister channel that you can actually reprint your own certificate in the way you want it. So which means there is an agent for this university who reprint certificate for these people. Those people should come out and tell the world, tell Nigerians, if that certificate was actually reprinted by them. This balances the whole question from my own point of view, because if the university has dispute with his certificate, and then he's saying he reprinted his certificate, and then there's no balance. We have no balance to it. It's rubbing down on us.
Really, Ugo, I'm of the opinion that like they're saying that when two elephants fight, the grass suffers, and that is what is happening to Nigeria right now, where we see
Yes.
at a time where economy is this bad. This is the news we keep hearing, keep getting, one certificate saga back and forth. Anyway, like you said, we are waiting for the outcome, and we'll move on quickly to the next newspaper we have. Now, that would be the Guardian newspaper, and these are some of the stories we have coming from the Guardian newspaper this morning. We have here FS arbitrary rules leave telecoms to big four, cripple 568 firms, and this story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says EFCC recovers 41.78 billion naira from power project, ex AGF's ally, others. That story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And then we'll have a story here that says SCU certificate. Obi backs Atiku, ask Tinubu to disclose real identity. And that story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Lagos Blue Lane goes electric, increases daily trips to 54. And that story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says police arrest undergraduates for killing club owner in Sescapade, and that story is on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says that Israel Hamas crisis, Nigerians must resist division, tension. Now, this is coming from CAN, the Christian Association of Nigeria, and that story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. These are all the stories we have coming from the Guardian newspaper this morning. Of course, there's a story here that says politicians corner 70% of recruitment into tertiary institutions, says TED Fund. And that story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. These are all the stories we have coming from the Guardian newspaper this morning. Ogo, there's a story here that says politicians corner 70% of recruitment into tertiary institutions. Now, what's your take on this? We already know the country we live in. It is the politicians. You see all the key positions. They will have to put in their people. They will have to set the slots. They will have to give out all the better things, and then they leave the menial ones for Nigerians to come apply, even people that are overqualified. Meanwhile, people that are not very qualified, they are getting the good jobs.
Well, I think it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. You take people who are half-baked, who do not have solutions to problems, and you put them in a very sensitive position. That's the reason why we are having brain drain in Nigeria today. People are leaving, medical doctors are getting out on a daily. Businessmen are pushing their business to other countries, neighboring countries, because they have found out that you cannot, who know man for Nigeria. Permit me to use that word. Because you cannot go to your village and harvest people who have, school cert or first living school certificate, and then you bring them up and put them in give them federal appointments to deliver what exactly? At the end of the day, you will find backlogs like what we're talking about now, fraud and corruption, because they are not solution providers. They only have the mindset of coming to the system to loot, to eat. So until we address the issue, and this takes us back to education, our educational system. If we actually have a good working educational system, I don't think we'd have this kind of problem, because anybody you touch, anybody who you bring into the system has something to provide, has something to give. But it is now, youth these days do not, focus on education anymore. They need quick, fast cash. And then you have a situation where a senator goes to his village, he has his slot for employment, go and take people from his village and then put them into service. What do you expect? Poor result. So I think we need to address, it's a very disturbing issue that we need to look at and address.
It is quite disheartening to know that in Nigeria we have the university tertiary institutions actually betting graduates on daily basis, hundreds of them.
Of course.
And then they are on the streets of Nigerians just roaming, nothing
about
to hold on to. And then you have some people, they keep, it's just a circle. It goes round in a circle of a certain class. So if you don't belong to that class, and that is why sometimes you are qualified for a job, they tell you go and get a letter from your senator, from the lawmaker representing your whatever. And how do you even have access to these people in the first place?
And then you ask in most cases for working experience, 10, 7 years, 6 years working experience. How do a fresh graduate
this person is a graduate and he graduated with good grades? So you are supposed to give them the platform,
opportunity to have that experience. So how would they have the experience when you don't give them the opportunity to have that experience? It's funny.
It's quite disheartening. Anyway, we move on quickly to the next newspaper we have, and that will be the Punch newspaper. Now, these are some of the stories are coming from the Punch newspaper this morning. The main headline here says, certificate forgery. Atiku Obi protest as BBC fact checkers clear Tinubu. The writer says BBC says documents confirm President CSU diploma. APC carpets Atiku Obi. PDP LP Sako Tinubu says certificate issues tarnishing Nigeria nation's image, and that story is on page 2 and 3 of the Punch newspaper. We have a story here as well that says low inflation project poor citizens. Low inflation protect poor citizens, IMF tells Nigeria. And this is on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. As well, we have a story here that says EFCC recovers 27 billion naira, $19 million probe ex-governors, ex-ministers. And all these stories on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. As well, we have a story here that says it is unconstitutional for states to regulate mining, says the federal government. And that story is on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Air Force launches new aircraft, awaits attack helicopters. And that story is on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Ohaneze hails Eagles release, ask Tinubu to free Kanu, and that story is on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Lagos demolishes structures obstructing drainages, and that story is on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Dictatorial keys 619 states. NPHCDA recommends face masks. And that story is on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. Now, these are all the stories we have coming from the Punch newspaper this morning. We've seen, there's a story here I really want you to throw your weight on, saying it is unconstitutional for states to regulate mining. And this is coming from federal government. For instance, we know, for instance, in Just, we know they do, that is one state that a lot of mining do go on. So what's your take? Do you think the government should take over, knowing fully well this is for the states? Is it because the states are no longer being productive? They have never been productive anyway. They rely on federal government for everything. Meanwhile, they have the natural resources or anything, whatever they have to do just to make to get money for their states. But they've been so relaxed because federal government, of course, will release their budget, and if they don't have like what they used to do, they go and borrow. Now, what's your take on that?
I think we would need the 2014 confab because generate their revenue and pay their quota to the center. If the system has been adjusted to that, what it means invariably is that state governments would then look inward, look at the resources they have, the potential resources they have, and maximize the profit there. That would in turn boost their GDP and the GDP of the country at large. Because if, for example, we have gold in Zamfara, if the federal government, if the state government are allowed to take this upon themselves, mine this gold, and there's a particular percentage that will be brought, make the center less attractive as it is, unlike the way it is now. Everybody wants to go to the federal level because they bake the cake, they cut the cake, and they distribute the cake. So there's no way you would hold the crutches of a crippled man and ask him to walk. It's not possible. So they need to allow states to work independent so that they'll be able to maximize profit. It really helped the federal government. I think this is a very, very crucial issue we need to talk about, because you cannot hijack or tie a person's hand and ask the person to work. And that's exactly how the situation is. The federal government has the say in state governments or whatever it is they have in their state. But then they rely on the federal government allocation to work. It's appalling. I think we are still way back. We need
But
to
funny
really
enough,
look.
do you know that our states, I feel like they are dormant. They have all the there is hardly a state in Nigeria you will see to, and you would not see that they actually have something in that state that can actually generate so much resources for the states. But because of course we know that they will always rely on the federal government, they are all going to sleep, and it's quite disheartening as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ugo, there's a story here that says Ohaneze hates Eagles release. Ask Tinubu to free Kanu. Now, what's your take on this? Because we
Well,
know that it's the same agitation here and here, though one is not as massive as one. But now, what's your take on this release and now the call for Kanu's release?
well, I think Nnamdi Kanu has paid his dues in blood and sweat. It's normal. The court has given their judgment, their verdict. Nnamdi Kanu is not supposed to be where he is now. I think I'll call up on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to please do the needful by giving Nnamdi Kanu back his freedom. It has the effect, because everything happening in the southeast, every crime happening in the southeast is somehow somewhat tied down to Nnamdi Kanu incarceration. You killing unknown gunmen here is labeled IPOB. ESN there, it's all tied, roped around the fact that Nnamdi Kanu is being incarcerated or still kept in prison. If I were to be the president, hence the court has given its judgment for this man to be released, let him go. And let's see what happens after his release. If this incessant killing and crime in the southeast still continues, then they know that it's more than Nnamdi Kanu's incarceration. That's what I feel. I feel Nnamdi Kanu should be set free. It's long overdue.
Very well said. I feel the same as well. And now there's a story here as well that says, Lagos demolishes structures obstructing drainages, and I'm not sure that there will be a compensation for them. But some of the footages, some of the clips are so heartbreaking. I didn't want to actually put them on, but you could see yesterday where the Lagos State went on the streets, actually bringing down buildings, story buildings, a lot of buildings obstructing drainages. Do you think these people, they should be the government should actually compensate them? And what lesson should we learn from this? Because we're seeing that flooding is becoming a major disaster in Nigeria yearly.
Yes. I think before someone procures, or purchase a land in the intent to build a structure there are guidelines that should be followed. You should know if that place is a place for or allocated for the building of land or for drainages or for roads. You cannot deliberately buy a land knowing that it's a sewer area or a waterlogged area or a road should pass there. You still go ahead to build keep a building there. One, the federal government has no liability for such a building, because the onus is on the individual to do his findings before erecting that structure, or then the federal government would either have warned or pre-warned them before that structure starts. So I feel building on the drainage is dangerous, detrimental to the health of the people living there, and then also risky. You can see the issue of flood. This is still boils down to the same issue, or building on the wrong places. I think we had of a story of a church in Benue State. I think Dunam, if I'm precise,
Yes.
that collapsed. This still, it might not be the land itself. It might be the materials used in building the church. I think from what they said, the roof was too, heavy for
Okay.
pastor there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the federal government did the right thing by taking down those buildings, and then compensation, it will depend on what the certificate of occupancy says at
Now,
the time
just
of
before
taking.
we move forward, Ugo, there's a
Yes.
story here that says, I have two stories here. One says Air Force launches new aircraft, awaits attack helicopters. Do you think with all this, we've seen 60 something helicopter, do you think this will kind of die down, or kind of, there will be, a major relief as far as insecurity is concerned, or, the issues with banditry, because now they are having so much to tackle these people with?
Oh, that the purchase of all these that are uh, you, the body's response office.
Okay, Ugo, your
There are
network
different gadgets.
is. Okay, go ahead. So I
It
was just,
can detect.
I was wondering, they buy so much, they launch so much helicopter on a yearly basis. And where is the insecurity today? This is something I don't know what's happening in Nigeria. Maybe they should
It
explain to
still boils
us.
down. It still
Yes,
boils down to corrupt. It still boils down to corruption, because someone somewhere is siphoning one penny or the other. You know, otherwise the money expended so far on procurement of arms and ammunition, even if we have a major infantry in Nigeria, we should be able to stock it full. But as the case may be, I feel they have the intelligence to know where these guys are. There are drones that have heat seekers that can seek you out wherever you are, where your body hits. These people know all this. That drone can seek them out from thousands of kilometers or miles away and cause, irreparable damage. So why taking helicopters there that would announce your arrival? So I just feel it still has to do with corruption anyways.
of course, because
The,
there's also a story here that say EFCC recovers 27 billion naira, $19 million, probe ex governors, ex ministers. These are the issues
so
when we see
what then happens? Yeah, what happens after the money is being retrieved? What happened to the individuals involved? What happens to the money retrieved? You know, we always in Nigeria we always get to see arrest, but then we don't get to see the prosecution at the end of the day. To serve as a deterrent for others. You cannot praise a criminal and expect someone else not to think of being a criminal,
well, that is
arrested
Nigeria
and
for
punished.
you. And our ministers, our senators, our governors, our president, please. It's quite shameful, like you said earlier. Now you go to the embassy, there's a searchlight everywhere. You walk, you go to other countries, there is a searchlight, because they have been able to successfully tarnish all over the years prior to now. They've been dragging the name of Nigeria, but I think now with this saga here and there, certificate, are we supposed to be having certificate issue at this time? Is that not what INEC are supposed to have done during the screening to checkmate these things? So I'm even shocked that it's at this time we're now having a certificate saga. This is something INEC must have done or should have done before the elections. It's quite
Yeah,
pitiful, and it's really taking a toll on us, the citizens, not even these people. Of course, when they tend to
exactly.
travel, nobody will stop them. They are public figures, and of course,
Yeah,
they travel the world on daily basis. But the ordinary Nigeria, we have to bear all this brunt, and it's really really sad. We move on.
Nin- Nin- yeah.
Yes.
Nigerians, yes, Nigerians are the best people in the world when it comes to intelligence. You go to United States of America, the best surgeons, the best medical doctors are Nigerians. If you look at the chart, the statistics of the United States of America, Nigerians have more educational qualifications than even the US citizens. We are good people, but we have terrible leaders, and there are very few of them. I think until the youth and Nigerians as a whole get up, you can't do these things in Finland, as small as it is. Finland, and other, small countries, you can't do things like this. The people will stand up and challenge the government. But here in Nigeria, we have that laid back, lackadaisical attitude, and then you want to go forward to challenge somebody is behind collecting bribe, and so until we realize that we need to get up, Nigeria is the best for me. Nigeria is the best country in the world. We have everything every country needs. We have it here, but the heads and the hands to put this in place is
Funny
what
enough,
we lack.
this probe by EFCC of the former governors, the former ministers, we know that just maybe I'm of the strong opinion that that might not even amount to anything, because they have been probing these people over the years. Who is this
What has
person?
happened?
They are the same cabals. Who is the
Yeah,
who is the government? They are the government. So what would you do to them? These are some of the
absolutely,
issues.
absolutely nothing. The singer Omawumi said in one of her songs, "If you ask me now, who I go ask?"
Who are you ask?
Yeah.
We move on quickly to the next newspaper, and that would be the Vanguard newspaper. Now, these are some of the stories coming from the Vanguard this morning. The major headline here says APC Obi at war over Tinubu. Now, that story is on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Israel a mass war can cautions against religious conflicts as Adeboye backs Israel. And that story is on page 13 of the Vanguard newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says FG bans contractors with ongoing FG bars contractors with ongoing projects from fresh bids. Yes, and that story is on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. There's a story here that says a Southeast zone crucial to Nigeria's development. Now, this is coming from our dear President Tinubu, and that story is on page 8 as well of the Vanguard newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says inflation protect poor people from high energy prices. And this is coming from IMF to FG. That story is on page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper. We have a story here that says health minister to hospitals save lives before requesting police reports, and that story is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. There's a story here that says 100 of used raided, kidnap FGC Yori students in 2021 bandits. I think that's a special report and is on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now, these are some of the stories we have coming from Vanguard this morning. I actually like a story here that says the health minister to hospitals save lives before requesting for police reports. Now, this is something that has actually destroyed, killed. A lot of people have died from scenarios like this, where we see victims of accidents, victims of attack armed robberies
Attack,
attack,
gunshot.
yes, attack, robbers attack, or maybe even kidnappers. And then the next thing we saw, one died just 2 weeks ago in Abuja,
Yes.
where he was actually thrown away from, she fell into one chance hand, and she was thrown from a movie vehicle. And the next thing, the hospitals were actually demanding for police reports. We
Police
saw
report.
that in Lagos the other time. I think this is a very, very good way to go. Nigerians, our hospitals should know that the priority in life. I've been to, right now, I'm in a developed country, have been to their hospitals like not once, not twice, and I see the prompt response to anything emergency. In fact, they do 101% to make sure this person is stabilized before they even begin to ask, what is your name? So I don't know why in our country we cannot get to that stage, and the next thing they keep asking you a police report. Somebody that is dying, who are maybe the person was brought in by a good passerby or somebody, and then you're demanding for what they won't be able to get, and you go to our stations and they start asking you meaningless questions. Now I think that's a way to go. Ugo, what do you think?
I feel we still have a long way to go, because the federal government should be able, it boils down to brain drain. Because if you go to some hospitals these days, the way and manner the medical doctors and nurses talk to you alone, you would not want to go back to that hospital again. Gone are those days when the profession was held at a very high esteem. But these days, would it be that they are not being properly taken care of, or their emolument or payment are not up to what they desire or they want to? I find it mind-boggling that someone would be attacked by robbers or bandits, stab injuries, gunshot injuries, and you go to the hospital with a life-threatening injury. And in this day and time, someone will say, go and get a police report, for goodness sake. Even if in well-developed countries, you treat the person from hospital in Nigeria, some private hospital in Nigeria, they treat you first, but they keep you in the hospital, pending when you are able to, pay up your bill. But first thing first, life, you need to save that life. But because we do not have compassion on our citizens, on ourselves, like the United States of America now, you cannot, they value their citizens. Because of one person, the United States government can go into a country and cause, harm or damage just to get that person out. So I think we need to come out of that archaic Stone Age mentality, which I think we still operate on these days. Because you can't go to school for 7 years, medical school, and you come out and you are practicing that, you're already exposed. You don't then sit in your comfort zone and say, oh, go and get a police report. We can't touch this person until you get a police report. It's saddening at this day and time. You can imagine the scenario you give about the girl who fell into one chance. She had the opportunity to survive. He had the opportunity to survive. If only they had do the due diligence to that poor lady. Now she is dead. And then you come out tomorrow and they'll ask you.
Sad. It's really sad, and this is the saddest of all the news today, because we've seen that over time, prior to now, a lot of people have actually died from a scenario like this, where the hospitals begin to demand unreachable, unthinkable documents or things just to attend to a dying patient. Like I said, I am in London right now. I have been to their heads sector here, or say their facilities here, and I know the quick response to cases, anything emergency. They will not even bother asking name. They just go straight to making sure the person is okay, is well. If it takes 1 year, they will wait until the person is fine before they even begin to ask you questions. It's only in Nigeria we see things like this, and I'm really, really happy and I'm glad about this call of the minister to make sure that they save lives. I think they should have ethics in every job. Every profession do come with ethics. I think the number one ethics of their job is to save lives, and that is what I think they should abide. So and then we'll take the last paper for the day just before we wrap up the show. And now this is the Nigerian Tribune. These are some of the stories coming from the Nigerian Tribune, and the main headline here says that Tinubu's certificate, Atiku presses on, Obi weighs in, APC hits back. Now, all the stories are on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Obi to Tinubu, tell Nigerians your true identity, follow my example. Atiku tells president you have no regard for judiciary. APC tells Obi and Atiku. All these stories are on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we have a story here that says of West Kessy, marketers unable to load petroleum products. This is coming from Ipman. And 6 joint security task force to tackle crude oil theft. And that story is on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we have a story here that says no to Thames Funds invention in private universities. This is coming from ASU, and that story is on page 10 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we have a story here that says peace not negotiable in Benue. Army warns, and that story is on page 15 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says 8 years after 2 pipeline vandals who killed 7 DSS officers in Lagos convicted, and that story is on page 16 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says FG to partially commercialize dams under its 12 river basins. And that story is coming from the minister on page 28 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Lagos to increase blue line trips from 12 to 52 from Monday. And that story is on page 16 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Deputy Governor's impeachment on those CG Rights Assembly. That story is on page 28 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. As well, we'll have a story here that says Mambila Zungeru Power Project, EFCC recovers houses in Lagos, Abuja, Cross River. Alleges funds made for project diverted from BDCs. Now, these are all the stories we have coming from the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Now, there's a story here, Ugo, I really want you to throw your weight on. Mambila Zungeru Power Project, EFCC, recovers houses in Lagos, Abuja, and Cross River. Alleges funds meant for projects diverted should be this. Now, what's your take on this? Can you hear me? Hello? Okay, but it's quite funny to know that we have. Can you hear me, Ugo? Okay, we have a little network issues to go from that end, and it's quite shameful. You know, it's from one bad news to another. So is it that there are no reliable people, trustworthy people to hold public office in Nigeria? We see that the Mambila project, we know that has been ongoing, power project and the Zengiru power project has been ongoing for a time, and so much billions of naira, billions have been spent on that project. And as of today, we are seeing houses being recovered in Lagos, Abuja. So is it that people just wait until they get into offices? They just they are lucky to be there, and the next thing they keep looting. So we cannot have well-meaning Nigerians that actually have the interest of Nigerians or the populace at heart. Now, Ugo, can you hear me? It's quite painful that in 2023 we're still seeing issues like this, that money meant for public use. This is power plant. This is something that the whole people will benefit from, and then you sit on top of the money. You do what? You start buying houses. You start building for who? It's painful. Ugo, are you there?
The net.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Oh, I really didn't get the question because the network was very
No,
bad.
I
If
was
you could.
saying that, the Mambila Zungeru Power Project, TFCC recovers houses from Abuja, Lagos, Calabar. The funds actually meant for the project were actually diverted. So I'm saying that, so is it that we cannot at one point in Nigeria have well-meaning Nigerians who are willing to deliver? Well, it's painful and shameful, like I said, and there's a story here as well that first scarcity, marketers unable to load petroleum products. So where do we go from here? One, the fuel is expensive, and two, you are not able to get it. It's really worrisome. It's worrisome, and because this they alleged to crude oil theft in our society. Well, who can now hold these ones responsible when the head is bad? What becomes of the body? These are the things we talk about. The head is actually bad, so it will take time for you to want to say you want to start tackling or removing all this news we hear about oil theft, especially in the Niger Delta region. What can be done from the leaders? People who are funds that are meant for well-meaning Nigeria for the people. You divert such money and you used to build houses, you used to build, buy things for yourself and your children. You send your children abroad for education. You go, once you have headache, you fly abroad, you jet off for medicals, leaving the ordinary Nigerians to suffer to their own faith. Ugo, can you hear me now?
Yes, I
Yes,
think
I was
it's
just
both.
talking about the Mambila Zengiru Power Project. EFCC recovers houses in Lagos, Abuja, Cross River, alleged that funds were meant for projects were diverted through BDCs. So I'm saying, is it that in Nigeria we cannot have well-meaning Nigeria, just one person who is willing to deliver without diverting funds, without sitting upon money meant for public use?
I think it still boils down to accountability, holding them accountable, showing a scapegoat, making a scapegoat out of one or two persons. But this does not happen. It doesn't happen in these climes where we are. It's like these Yahoo boys now. When you see a childhood friend or a classmate who all of a sudden, in the twinkle of an eye, he's a millionaire, he has cars, he has houses, it looks very easy. But when you get into the circle, you find out that it's more difficult than you think. So people use or steal funds, money, federal funds made or mapped out to get infrastructures done to better the life of citizens, and they cut away with it for their own selfish interest, and nothing, absolutely nothing happens to these people. What do you expect the people coming behind them to do? So I think we are getting it wrong in this country, and I think we know the right step to take, but we have, for one reason or the other, chosen not to do it. And until we get things right, Nigeria will continue to deteriorate. It will continue to be the mock and the laughing stock of nations. It's appalling. It's painful to see during our time that we actually would go through things like this. How many houses can you live at a time? How many cars can you drive at a time? So I think it borders on the individual mindset. This amassing wealth syndrome. I want to have it all. It's a problem we need to really tackle. It's becoming a cancer, and if care is not taken, it will be deeply rooted. Uprooting it will become a problem because generations coming would see these trajectories and want to follow suit. Instead of working hard, they will tend to work smart in that negative sense. So our leader, the people ahead of us, need to take the bull by the horn and do the right thing. And until then, we'll still be where we are.
Well, the last story here, just before we wrap up. No to 10 funds innovations in private universities. This is coming from ASU. Do you think that is the way to go? For me, that is a very hard one, if you ask me. But there are still schools in Nigeria, because if you're saying no to 10 funds innovations in private universities, if that, for instance, if the public ones were actually doing well, or the federal government or ASU were up and doing, I don't think we should be having issues with 10 fund innovations in private university. What's your take, Ugo?
Of course, yes. It's the private sector, when it comes to our tertiary institution, has taken over, not just in the tertiary institution. In fact, up down to our primary or secondary schools. You hardly hear of government schools. You can't even, if you go to some government schools, you can't even take your child there, because the building, the infrastructure is dilapidated. you know. But most of those schools still have good teachers, unlike some private schools. Some private schools that teachers are, sorry to say, nothing to write home about. Your child goes to school and come back without, proper English, proper spelling. But because they do not have, they have rather those facilities the federal government do not have. So you do not have a choice that you take your ward or your child.
Well,
Like that
if
for
you
us. Yeah.
go ahead. I think if our public schools are to be doing well, I don't think we'll be having or saying something like this. And no parents, no well-meaning parents who want to leave their child somewhere. And when you have the resources, you have the means to take them where to better their future. You just leave them where their well-being is not even secure. Like Ugo said, you go to some institutions, some even primary school, you need to see where these children are being taught. So if you have your child and you have the
It's
money,
appalling.
you want to go and keep them where even for their health and for their well-being, their
Yes.
mental state, where they will be okay. So I don't blame people who actually take their children even outside the country for better education. We do hope that our government will hear, we see, and they will do the needful, because it's as if though you speak and they don't listen, they don't hear anything. It's quite worrisome, and it's shameful when you
Their,
try
their
to
own
when you try to
their own
compare.
children are outside the country.
Yes, they're outside the country and
Yes.
they know
They,
the
they,
law,
they yes.
because
They go
for
to school there.
instance, if you come here, the when I was coming to the UK, I actually came via British Airway, and I came with a renowned politician. He was carrying his bag all by himself. There were no bodyguard, there were no
Aid to
siren,
help.
there were no, he was dragging it. And my take is, these people, you come to a developed country, you see the initiative here. Why can't you take one home and develop it there? Is it just to come and dump money for a place, or to buy a house here, or to come for your medicals here, or to bring your children here? It's really unfair. It's
I,
unfair.
I, I well, I really don't blame the politicians 100%, because the youth have the most problems are with the youth.
Okay, why
Because
we say so?
because if we decide to speak with one voice, these politicians we are always clamoring about are very few. Over 200 and something million Nigerians. How many politicians do we have? If we all come together and say enough is enough, but we don't have that problem. There's a lacuna, there's a space, there's a hole, there's a mole somewhere. When youth come together to fight for a front, a positive change, some particular youth still go behind to collect whatever they need to collect, to sabotage what their fellow youth is doing that will better the life of Nigerians as a whole. So with that, do you think would have any positive move ahead? The answer is no. So they know that when they go out and come back, they always have their boys stationed there to do their bidding. Who's always in their whims and caprices. You see? So if until that stops, the politicians always know that there are boys who they can always use to destabilize and disrupt whatever positive change we try to make. So I think the onus is on the youth to
that
take the
means
bull
it's
by the
a
horn
wake-up call
and
for all
force these guys to do
Nigerian
the
youths
right
to
thing.
sit up and to do the needful. Nigerian youths, they said you are the future leader, but the way it seems, if we don't do the right thing, you are never going to be leaders. That is the truth.
Yes.
Well, that would be a good place to wrap up the show, Ugo. Thank you so very much for all your contributions. Viewers have been on the reviews with Ugo Uwandike. He is an able-bodied Nigerian youth. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And you have a very beautiful day ahead.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, viewers, that would be a good place to wrap up the show. But I feel like this is a wake-up call for all Nigerian youth to sit up. You need to come here to a developed country and see what is happening. You will have to start crying, practically shed tears for Nigeria. So I think it is high time. It is high time we sit up. It is high time everybody put your hand on deck, lay your voice, let us be heard. And maybe that will bring the much needed change we are all clamoring for. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. We appreciate your time. And before we go, don't forget to follow us on our social media handles. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, now X, and of course, YouTube. Subscribe, hit on the notification bell, and invite somebody to the page as well. Leave us with your comments. We'd love to hear from you. While you are out there, the economy is really bad. Nothing is working well. But remember that peace is priceless. So let's always give peace a chance. Put smiles on the face of somebody today. You might just be saving a life. And let's keep hope alive. Don't give up. Tomorrow might just be better. While you're out there as well, don't drink and drive, and obey the traffic law. And stay blessed. To have yourself a very beautiful day. I'm yours truly, Princess Kessy. I'll see you again tomorrow, God's willing. Bye.
Hooray! The next President Show is here again. Are you aged between 18 and 30, smart, bold, and possess exceptional leadership skills? Do you have what it takes to be the next youth governor and future youth president? Then register free now at superiorradioandtelevision.com or call the number on the screen. The next President reality TV show, moving politics out of the polite drawing room into the clamor of the streets. The next President Show is here again.
Everyone, my name is Hajara Osman Muhammad. I'm the Youth Governor for Kano State, Nigeria's Center of Commerce.
Pronounced Joel Garba, the Youth Executive Governor of Kaduna State, and I am contesting for the Youth Presidents of Nigeria under the People's Liberation Party, PLP.
Aged between 18 and 30, smart, bold, and possess exceptional leadership skills. Do you have what it takes to be the next youth governor and future youth president? Then register free now at superiorradioandtelevision.com or call the number on the screen. The next President reality TV show, moving politics out of the polite